journey it is, but also the incredible people that are involved. And I'm really happy to introduce Lisa Regula.
So, I kind of came to surrogacy similar to I kind of came to surrogacy in a similar fashion, but Jessica mentioned here that yes, there's this problem and it's hard for a certain group of people to have children in a way that they want, and that's not right in my opinion. But I had an amazing pregnancy, very easy with my son, and I had no desire for children of my own after that. I kind of had a little bit of extra help on my side because my family has very good Catholic breeder genes. So my mom had easy pregnancies, and when I was growing up, in the 80s, when gestational surrogacy was not even heard of, my mom had talked about, well, if I could have other people's kids and not, if I could go through the pregnancy, because that's fun, and just not having more kids, I would be great. I would totally do that. So I already knew that there was this concept of being a surrogate for other people out there. And then it was about a year and a half after my son had been born, and I was like, I really liked being pregnant. I wanted to do that again, but I don't like kids. So and I started looking, and I found an agency, and I matched with an agency. And my first surrogacy was actually a gestational surrogacy, and it went well. There were some bumps along the way. We're very cordial. We're friends on Facebook. We get occasional emails and mail now, but it wasn't. It was a great feeling, but there wasn't that long-term relationship. We're not best friends, and that's okay. Shortly after my first surrogacy was born in 2009, I was like, well, I don't want to be pregnant again, but if there's still this whole world out there of surrogacy, there's these amazing people that are willing to go through so much just to have a family, and I still want to be a part of that. So I ended up doing a couple of egg donations, one in New Jersey that has stayed anonymous, although they have the option of knowing. We talked through the agency about their plans for revealing that the child was a child via egg donation, and that to me it's important that kids are able to know their story if they have that interest. So there is that. The parents are okay with having their story known to the kids later on if the kid chooses to. My second donation started out as anonymous also, but became known when they tried for a sibling and were in the process of getting pregnant with a sibling, and we're just kind of like, well, we're doing this again, and it's frozen embryos, and we're going to have a sibling, but we really want to know more. So that became a known donation, and we're, again, friends on Facebook. We can have emails, and we've met once, and it's kind of nice. It's special to be able to see what happens after an egg donation. Well, the egg donations were fun, but about 2.5 years, 2 years, somewhere in there, again, after my first surrogacy, I was like, I really want to do this again. I want to be pregnant. I like being pregnant. I still don't want more kids. So we'll do this again. The second time around, I had to reevaluate some of the things that I did the first time, because I liked the surrogacy experience. I liked that journey. We were friends. It was okay. It was a great experience, but I wanted it to be better. Doesn't everybody want everything to be better the second time and fix any little quirks that go wrong, right? So I decided this time I wanted to be independent. Surrogacy agencies, there are great ones out there, and I know there's a lot of help through them. But for me, in my first journey, the surrogacy agency was a little bit more of a roadblock than a help. They were less advocates for the surrogate and very much inclined to help the parents. And it just wasn't a balance of power that I was happy with. Plus, the first surrogacy taught me that my body doesn't like the hormones that go along with a surrogacy pregnancy, because they are extremely heavy hormones, lupron and estrogen and progesterone, and And that part of it, my body didn't like. We actually have my son because I had gone off birth control because my body didn't like those hormones either. And surprise, condoms break and spermicide doesn't always work when you have good Catholic breeder genes. So I wanted to go traditional surrogacy because I wouldn't have to worry about those hormones and I wouldn't have to have those ill effects. And besides the problems with the agency, the first time, no agency will do traditional surrogacy. So, and I can understand their reasons for not doing that. It's totally legitimate. It's a personal choice, but that's what felt right to me. So I ended up going and matching as a traditional surrogate, independent, with an absolutely amazing couple. We still have a great relationship with. They were wanting to be here, but unfortunately have to deal with some work issues right now because there is real world life besides parenting, right? It would be nice if we could just worry about raising kids, and that's the end of it. But so we have an astounding relationship with my second surrogacy, and part of that was because it was a traditional surrogacy, I think, because we started everything out knowing that we all wanted a very tight relationship, and they wanted their child to not just know, well, your genetic parent was of German descent and Kalo descent and was 5'9", and they wanted to know not just those statistics, but be able to hear the story. And they wanted to know about those intimate details and be able to have somebody that it wasn't just, well, your egg donor was or your surrogate was. They wanted to have somebody, well, this is Lisa, go ask her a question. And my traditional surrogate daughter is only a year now, so she's not asking many questions for some reason. But we wanted to, from the beginning, everybody wanted to have that openness and that connection and that relationship so that when kids do start asking questions, there's an easy place to go for answers and there's no waiting for whatever. One big difference was with my egg donations and with the traditional surrogacy is known versus anonymous, and I think that is important for kids to know. If they're, every parent has to choose what's right for them as far as disclosure and time of disclosure and how much to disclose, but especially as kids get older and can ask questions, I think that it's, for me personally, it's a really important thing that kids have that information available to them, because we're humans. Part of our life story is forming our identity, and part of our identity is, where did I come from? Who am I a part of? We ask those questions, and you don't want to have unknowns if kids are uncomfortable with those unknowns. So for me, that was an important part of knowing that kids have that possibility. One thing that genetic connection does bring into play is family and friends and their reactions, because my family and friends have known that I had done gestational surrogacy the first time, and with my family especially, it took lots and lots of explanations to my grandmothers about how this wasn't mine, and you explain to an 80-year-old woman that the baby that you're carrying is the child of two gay men and is not genetically linked to you. And it just, there's diagrams and there's Once we got all that settled with my family, the first time around, we didn't feel like then correcting those corrections. So that fell into the realm, for me, of my business, not your business, Grandma. They've been extremely supportive, both family and friends,